Another type of drawing that we can do with our technical drawings is the use of pictorial drawings. And pictorial drawings are picture-like drawings. And in that we mean within a single view we attempt to show the height, width, and the depth. There are three different types of pictorial drawings that we can use, and they are axonometric, oblique, and perspective. And within each one of these three main types we have subcategories of different types of those. So for example, we have three different types of axonometric, three different types of obliques, and two different types of perspective. And that's what we're going to go through in this chapter. So starting with axonometric. In axonometric drawings, they are identified by the angles between the lines joining the front corner or axis of the drawing. And so the three types of axonometric drawings are trimetric, dimetric, and isometric. Well, isometric is probably one that you maybe have heard of before at least, and that's the most popular one out there. And in an isometric drawing, all angles are equal on the front corner. So in the axonometric type of drawings, we take and we rotate an object, and depending on where we put the front corner and the angles that we use off of that front corner is going to determine the type of axonometric drawing that it is. In the case of isometric, we use a 30-degree angle off the front corner to draw our, in this case, the width, or in this direction, the length of that particular object. And the other major angles on that object also follow along. So up here in this top corner, notice how these angles are parallel with the other angles down below. The only time we would have an angle that's not parallel with it, if you will, is if the part itself has an angle within it. And that, so for example, if there is kind of a slice off of this corner, then that angle producing that line would be different than the standard 30, 60, 90 angles that are on there. The second type of pictorial drawings are called oblique drawings. And in this case, instead of rotating the object initially, we use the exact front face or front view, which shows us true size and shape. So just like we would in a multi-view drawing have a front view, we have that exact same front view here in oblique drawings. But then the difference is we take and we recede the side at a particular angle. The three different types of obliques are cavalier, cabinet, and general. And the different types are all differentiated by the depth of the angle going back. So a cavalier has a full depth, a cabinet oblique has a half depth, and the general oblique has anywhere between a half and a full depth on there. In this case, the cabinet obliques are the most popular, used in, as the name implies, used in the cabinet drawings. If you were designing a kitchen, the designer would give you kind of a layout of the kitchen, and if he were to give you a pictorial drawings, the cabinets would be drawn using the cabinet oblique method. And the idea here is simply we only use a half depth in order to save space on the drawing, and it looks nice. The third type of pictorial drawing is the perspective drawing, and this is the most realistic type of drawing, but also the most difficult to draw. In a vanishing point method, we use the receding line method, which goes to a single point, and that point is called the vanishing point. This is kind of like the idea of looking down a railroad track, and as we look at a railroad track and go down, that they basically come to a given point. Now that doesn't actually happen, but the way that perspective that our eyes see it, that's what it looks like. And so that's the same method that we use in the vanishing point, where here you can see we have a vanishing point here. Just like the obliques, we use the same front view, just like we would in a multi-view drawing with the single one-point vanishing point. From there then we take off of each one of the corners, we draw lines that go to that vanishing point. And from there we can fill in the depth that we want to use. And so this is the way that our eyes see things, which is why it's the most realistic. You can also go with a 2-point or 3-point vanishing point, which is what you see over here. Again, these are most realistic, but the most difficult to draw as well. So in review, we have three different types of pictorial drawings that we can use. We have the axonometric, which the isometric is the most popular. We have where on the axonometric we take, and from the initial point we rotate the object on different angles. On the oblique style, we use the exact front view that shows true shape and size, and then recede lines at a particular depth depending on the type, the cabinet style being the most popular. And then the third type is the perspective style of drawing, where we have a vanishing point, either a 1, 2, or 3 points of vanishing points to give it that pictorial look. Now in all of these, it's important to note that we are just giving the visual presentation that it's actually, we actually show the three views. It's not truly a 3D model or a 3D picture of an object. A true 3D model would actually we could rotate that object and actually see that it's three-dimensional. When we do pictorial style drawings like this in isometric or cabinet, if we were actually to rotate this picture, everything would still technically be on a two-dimensional plane. Now it is possible to do 3D models in CAD systems, and we're going to talk about that here in the future. But it's important to note we're basically giving the representation that it's 3D, but it's actually not technically true 3D as we draw those things. So that concludes our pictorial drawings chapter, and a way of drawing technical drawings that gives a great visual on what the object is going to look like in many different ways.